That is the sweet, sweet sound of the Southern River Band, who I believe were headlining the Freo ACDC festival down at the Freo. So Mark McGowan getting a photo with Kel from the Southern River Band. So all big things happening down there. Welcome to the Shelter FootyCast live from BackChat Studios. Yes, I'm in a beanie. Skeet's in his usual Monday attire, which is a suit and RMs, I'm assuming. Skeeter, good to see you.
Hello, Scully. Yes, yeah, you've had a quiet night. First time I can recall in our friendship that you've gone to a concert and haven't come back the next day poleaxed, which is really nice.
I think showing respect for your daughter, who's babysat both our kids, not rolling in at 4 a.m. No, I got home.
Slim Jim and the Fats. Oh, no, not Slim Jim and the Fats. Who was it?
Fat Boy Slim. Who is Slim Jim and the
He's
Fats?
a very prominent band. Jane's laughing. Got no idea who he is. You're the wrong demographic. But he used to do a lot of pub shows and did my year 12 graduation. A good rock and roll band.
Did your year 12
They still go around.
graduation?
Yeah,
How
Jamie
long
McCandy.
ago was that?
A long time ago. But anyway, if you were a West Australian growing up in this environment for a long time, you'd know. But anyway, how was Fat Boy Slim?
Yeah, Fat Boy Slim. It was actually really good.
Cold?
No, I was rugged up. It was good. A lot of dancing. The mosh pit was quite friendly. Like there was no dickheads rolling around. It was
Probably
good.
friendly because they're all sort of not taking anything before they go in there, are they?
Well, I don't know. There was quite a police presence at the front door. No, it was actually a bit of an older crowd because Fat Boy Slim.
He's not young.
I mean, you do know who he is.
I know some
so
of his music.
that is saying it mustn't be too new age if you know what's going on.
Mate, I did a carpool karaoke with the Waffle State Boys and they had Cardi B and the
You did what?
WAP song came out. Don't worry, we were involved with that. And you'll get a look at that as part of the... it's going to be embarrassing.
Ladies and gentlemen, there may not be a show here on the Shelter FootyCast Thursday if Mark Reddings is rolling around Perth doing carpool karaoke.
Yeah, I was the James Corden, which is not a good look.
Did you sing?
I did sing.
How did you go with Cardi B?
I didn't know Cardi B. I knew some of
ass.
the all that sort of stuff. Yeah, Jack Buller from Claremont, Luke Meadows from West Perth, Lee Kitchen who fancies himself on the microphone as well, and Angus Shoemaker from East Perth.
I was going to say Hamish Brayshaw didn't make it in there.
No, he didn't. But Shuey said, look, he should have been part of that entourage, like a boy band gone wrong. So so we had a bit of fun. Eminem was playing, and the boys. Oh,
that's very good.
I sang Suspicious Minds.
Well, okay. I can't wait to tune into that. You can follow us over at socials, where I will have highlights of that going up on our socials. Shelter FootyCast. FootyCast at shelterbrewing.com.au is our email. Got some emails to get to at the back end of this show. The Thirsty Camel Clanger of the Week. Today, Skeeter, don't run out of your favourites. Grab your shelters at Thirsty Camel. I want to start with this one from yesterday. Both you and I called the game from the 6PR Studios, Sydney Collingwood. It was a good game to start with. We could hear on the coverage the booing of Lance Franklin. I know, look, I talk it down a fair bit because my view on this is if you pay your money, you can pretty much do as you like as long as it's respect. And so we came up with a bit of a good example yesterday on the show around, well, how do you draw the line? I think it's a similar line that the players have to follow. So the players, it's pretty much fair game out there when you're on the lip to other players, but you got to respect religion.
So it's not fair game. There's parameters now. There's a lot more parameters than 30 years
ago. But
it
is fair. Yeah, well, okay, well, that's a good thing. But it is fair game. Other than, sex, race, religion, the constitutionally protected rights of people, you can't disrespect those. But you can call someone a shit kick. You can call them bald. All of that stuff. Like, I think that's fair game, and you can boo them and put them off, and you can do that. So I'm happy with that one.
I like the sledge from Brett Voss to Michael Voss. Hey, as he's lined up for goal, my dad slept with your mum. I like that.
See, that's still fair game.
That's brilliant.
That's two brothers going at it, right? But the Franklin stuff, I asked a question on Twitter. Like, what are we booing for here? What's going on?
I don't understand, and I can't work it out. Buddy didn't, to our eye, do anything wrong in the game. I know he's had a couple of MROs and been suspended over the journey, but I can't work it out. I can't understand why he was booed and some people saying it's racial. I don't believe that to be the case yesterday. I think they're booing the fact that he's a great player and he plays for Sydney, and it's sort of lowest common denominator stuff. I don't agree with it. Is it right? No.
They were booing Papley at stages as well.
But Papley agitated with Nick Dacos. There's a bit of history there.
There's 70,000 people at the MCG, 72,000. Probably 60,000 of those are Collingwood supporters. So it's definitely a mob mentality. And Papley is the sort of player that makes you if you're a passionate, emotional supporter,
I can see why they boo him. I can't see why they boo Buddy.
no, but like if you think about Tom Papley, right? You look at him and he's agitating, he's carrying. Like Buddy Franklin, yes, he's a champion of the game, but he's the guy that can take that victory away from you. So I don't know. I'm not trying to justify it, but I do sit on the side of I'm okay with booing. If you want to do that, I'm not a booer. I'm not a booer. You're a booer.
No, but
I've never been to a game and booed someone, but I can understand.
So you got issues like even Nathan Buckley when he was coach at Collingwood. Scotty Pennebury won the medal. Essendon fans booed. Are we happy with that sort of stuff?
Well, you can do whatever you like in life. You don't have to be.
But I don't think we should be saying, "Oh, this is great." I mean, we're certainly not something that think this is great
I'm
for
not.
the game.
But like we can't also be the moral police on people.
You can't. We won't be able to stop it.
Yeah, correct.
If it gets momentum, and the more people like you and me, or whoever the AFL says, we don't want you booing Buddy, you can bet your bottom dollar when he goes back to Melbourne.
They're not putting the boo police out in the stands.
But it wasn't racial, but it was weird.
Yeah, really weird. What about Nat Fyfe's return? It was good to see him back out there on the West Australian side of things.
Yeah, he was good, and I think he picked a perfect game to come back where Fremantle's dominating. Yeah, I mean, soft kill. Fremantle good, 69 points, and I think he showed us exactly what he can do, and that's with a bit of time and space able to create a nice snap. And I think the only issue that we still can't work out is why he can't have a set shot for goal with any confidence, and that clearly has been an issue for a while now, and I'm not sure how he solves it. If he's going to become a permanent forward for if he plays on next year, for instance, then that's the question.
Clearly I can accept it, but I can understand, I guess, what he's saying. We've heard him speak about it publicly now that he's had mental struggles with being in front of goal and the pressure associated with that and the build-up of, hey, I've missed them before and what happens if I keep missing them and it turns into a thing for him. I can understand it, but I also feel like someone needs to grab him by the jumper and be like, mate, you've won 2 Brownlow medals. You're the best player in the country by a long way. I understand you've been injured, but you're a leader of this team. Like you clearly have the mental capacity and strength to will yourself to do things that no people can. That's what good players do. That's what Brownlow medalists are. They're mentally stronger than other players. Like that yes, okay, there's talent, but the Brownlow medal players are the most consistent. They can rock up every week and do it every week, and it's mental. Like that's what makes them a step above anyone. So it's not like he's this inconsistent guy. He's been the most consistent. So
yeah, but having said that, look, and we've seen Brownlow medalists apart from Fyfe. I mean, Paddy Dangerfield hasn't always been a great set shot for goal. Talking about this, I mean, Paddy Cripps, not in the top 4 or 5 in the comp.
Danger's not a good kick either, though.
No. But going back to Nat Fyfe, I mean, I just watched someone like Jai Amos who has a bit of a unique set shot routine.
Iconic.
But yeah, it's a short, elongated, but he seems to have a nice rhythm. Whereas, and Nat can't pick anything that he does wrong. Is it the ball drop? Anyway, I'm not sure. You think it's mindset. I think there must be a little technical flaw there somewhere. I'm not sure how much work he does.
Well, he said it's mindset. He said it. He's literally said that it's mental.
Yeah,
we interviewed him about it.
He can't be mentally fatigued on the weekend because he wasn't out there long enough. No, I'm serious. No. So it's a good question. I'm not sure the answer. But either way, good to see him back. He just gives them that a bit of life. And as I say, it was a good match for Fremantle just to get the cobwebs out and dare I say it, against a team that he's going to finish bottom 4.
Justin Longmuir is the coach of the Fremantle Footy Club. Very close relationships with West Coast Eagles forwards. He was the forward coach at West Coast for a long time. We've seen Lacroix down there. If I see Josh Kennedy or Mark Lacroix down there teaching Nat Fyfe how to kick goals, 1, I'll spew up, but 2, it wouldn't be the stupidest things Freo's ever done.
You haven't heard any mail on that front?
No, I haven't. That is complete and utter shit talk by me. not even.
You sounded so authoritative.
When you were speaking, I was like, well, who could you get down there? You talk about Jai Amos. You're not going to have him teach Fyfe, but who could you have down there? I mean, probably put in a call. I mean, Mark Lacroix and Josh Kennedy, from my point of view, like especially Lecker, but
Beautiful.
Josh Kennedy can kick goals too. Both technique-based guys. Like, I don't know.
Well, no, he's been used there before. You're right.
You could do worse things than have either of those guys have a chat to the guys.
Totally. And all that can happen out of that is positives. Sure.
Maybe we just came up with a really good idea here, Skeeter, and maybe it happens. If it did, you heard it here first on the Shelter FootyCast. Jai Cully does his ACL. That's confirmed. It's shattering news for a kid that picked up in that mid-season draft last year, touted as a real top-end draft pick for West Coast this year. He wasn't in the side to start the year, but has found his way in there, and it kind of looked like that. He was probably going to start getting a lot of mid-minutes, and he's going to be out for 12 months. Really disappointing for the kid.
Yeah, I asked you this question yesterday, and it was just a hypothetical. And I'm also about the situation the Eagles are in with their list. Is there any pressure on the club, given the need to rebuild and regenerate, that Jai Cully, and seems really harsh and cruel to say this, that he might be delisted off the back of this? I don't think it'll happen, but would that be a discussion that he's had, or you think, no, do your rehab, we're keeping you full stop? This
leads me into my thirsty camel clanger of the week, Skeeter. Don't run out of your favourites. Grab your shelters at Thirsty Camel. I find it, and now this isn't based at you, it's more broad, and I think there's a couple of specific examples I can use, but the discussion around list decisions when a team's going poorly, right, which is West Coast right now. Hawthorn is another one, tanking starts getting thrown around. We're so conditioned as an industry, and I'm talking about media, to overreact to things. And you and I have fun in here and talk about different things, and I think we keep it pretty balanced. The chats around list decisions at West Coast, like, sometimes are borderline embarrassing. I saw one last night on the internet. You can go and find who wrote it, because I'm not going to name them. But Jack Darling should be dropped and
play one short.
I mean, okay, Jack's not in good form. I can say that. Anyone can say that. He's not doing well. But is he playing a role that's allowing Oscar Allen to be one of only two players in the competition that have kicked multiple goals? Maybe. I mean, Oscar could just be doing that by himself. He's an absolute star. He and Jeremy Cameron, of course, the only two players in the competition to have kicked multiple goals every game they've played this year. Jack's not in good form, but going and saying drop him and play one short.
Was it a flippant? Was it something?
Well,
like
maybe.
I think it might have been tongue in cheek.
So that's one example. But then, yeah, correct. But then, you look at throughout, take calls on radio all weekend. You got to cut everyone on the list. You got to get rid of Rotham. You got to get rid of Zave O'Neill. You got to get rid of West. You got to get rid of Shuey. Can't play McGovern. Get rid of Yo. They don't play Nananui. But you can't cut 15 players from West Coast list. I know that they need to improve, clearly. But you need to have a balanced view on it, because you can't just get rid of 15 and go to the draft with 15 draft picks. That's not how it works. And I don't really think that they have a lot of trade value there. And you're not going to trade Oscar Allen, who'd be your best player and the most valuable. You're not trading him.
But you still need to look at all these options.
Of course you do.
And trade-wise, and we discussed this.
You can't delist your whole team. Though.
No, I get that. But there are certain players that, in my and probably yours, and the club would already know this, that they're probably not going to be there in 2024, be it through age in Shannon Hearn's case, which is, I think, most likely he'll retire. I mean, surely he'll retire at the end of this year.
Well, I don't know if that's a lay down misère, because, like, if you get rid of a Shannon Hearn, you've got decisions to make on these guys that haven't been able to get on the park. Shannon Hearn plays every week,
and he's reliable. He still gives guidance. So, okay,
so you may look at him as a coaching playing role, and maybe he doesn't play as many games as he's played this year, but he's going to play almost every game this year if he continues on the way he's going. So, it does moving him on, or is it better to pay him half his wage, get him to coach the back line and play 10 games, than it is to keep a such and such on a list?
Yeah, well, I'll name some names. Guys that have been, Foley, O'Neill, Clark, just to name three. Rotham's been mentioned on the weekend, had a moment inside.
Which, who gives a shit, seriously?
But that gets highlighted again on social media. But they're players that are obvious, that stand out. What's their future? That's a question mark when you finish 16th, 17th, or 18th.
Which has to happen.
Yeah, of course. Trade-wise, they are limited. I threw up Liam Ryan to you yesterday, which he seems very much a WA guy who needs to be around his family. That's my gut feeling.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen. Yeah.
No, but who do you trade? And you can't just give up a mid talented player in terms of trade table. You can't give up a mid-range player.
My opinion is you don't need to panic, because clearly they're not going well. They need to go to the draft. They need to get high-end talent in, which they haven't done in more than 5 years. They haven't had big batches of high-end talent. When I came through the footy club as a young kid, we had 3-4 drafts of high-end guys come in, and we grew that group together, played in grand final, played in a premiership, and it took 10 years. You don't just flip the list in 1 week.
Oh,
sorry, and one week, but 1 year. You don't go from being, I know Collingwood's done it, but they didn't get rid of 20 players. They've consistently brought people in. They made a couple of tough calls, if you can remember, with Jaden Stephenson and Adam Treloar and a couple of others about 3 years ago. But they didn't get rid of 10. You're going to have to make a couple of hard decisions.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you made a really good point there. The Treloar one Collingwood made, and look, they're top of the table. Criticised big time, and Collingwood supporters as well. I'm not sure there's any one that at the Eagles at the moment. I mean, Tom Barrass. I mean, trying to think of someone who's...
He's going to be captain of the footy club, so he's not getting traded.
No, that's what I'm saying. The A-list players, Tom Barrass, Oscar Allen, there's just not someone there that I go, well, do you roll the dice and offer him up as a trade to get the more high-end draft picks? But again, that will increase the pain you go through as a club in the short term.
My thirsty camel clanger of the week goes to the media in general. I think we need to have a more balanced view. Don't need to throw everyone out on the bin. Just can have a balanced, structured approach, and they need to get high-end talent in. That doesn't mean trade your whole list. It may mean trading one, maybe two players, but that's it. You're probably going to delist a normal amount of players, to be really honest. Like you have to have a minimum of 3 changes a year. There's usually about 5 or 6, including rookies, probably 7. Probably going to hit the same number, West Coast. So don't worry, you're not going to have a brand new team next year. I don't think it should be. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shelter FootyCast. Let's get into the review of the West Coast and Fremantle game. Skeeter, start with Richmond defeating West Coast by 46 points. This one was, I don't know if it was tighter or further out than people thought. West Coast hit the lead halfway through the third quarter. And, from what I saw, they were competitive. Their contested ball numbers were up. They were putting pressure on the Tigers. I mean, let's be frank, as you've said repeatedly, Richmond aren't setting the world on fire, but at the G, Richmond is notoriously a difficult side to beat. So, look, from what I saw up until halfway through that third, they had wrestled momentum. So Richmond had it for stages, West Coast had it for stages, but it was still tight. They hit the lead, and then they lost it properly, the momentum. Prestia kicked 3 goals.
In about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and that's the difference between a good team and a bad team, but a team with no experience, being able to stop those moments of big goal run-ons, that wins and loses your games.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the numbers also stacked up. The first quarter aside, territory-wise, Richmond really lived a lot more in the Eagles' back half than the alternative. And I think 63 inside 50s to 45 off the top of my head. It was pretty lopsided at the end of the day. So with that sort of supply, I think if you get over 60 inside 50 looks in the course of a game, you're entitled to win the match, particularly when your opposition gets 45. So the margin, I think we're expecting about that sort of gap between the two.
Blew out a little bit late.
It did. When I say it was a vanilla loss, it was one that Adam Simpson took really strongly because of the Jai Cully factor. So yeah, he was pretty flat. At the second quarter again, they seemed to have an issue being able to. I mean, they didn't get blown away on the scoreboard, but Richmond, that's when they took control in the second quarter. But yeah, well, it wasn't a horrendous loss, and it's the type of defeat that at least Adam Simpson can look in the mirror and say, look, the boys, they had a crack.
What about this one? Oscar Allen kicked multiple goals,
yes.
Right, every game he's played. Kicked his first goal not from a set shot.
Little snap in the pocket.
Yeah, so that was his first for the year. That wasn't a set shot. Every other goal from a set shot.
And we speak about the technical side of set shots for goal. He's just about got it down pat. I mean, you think of him, I see Todd Marshall does it beautifully for Port. Certain play, he just has a lovely rhythm with his run-up. And if you're kicking for someone to win you a match for the Eagles at the moment, obviously he's the guy that I think the trust factor is pretty high. And
how good is he? He's playing on the worst side of the competition.
Close to the worst side, and he's got 20-plus goals, Coleman medal. He's not going to win it because...
Can't, probably, because of inside 50s,
Inside
basically.
50s. But, gee, it's been a really... And forget the fact what he's doing this year. He had 12 months off and come back and do what he's doing. Yeah. They just need to keep him... If there's any danger of him... if there's sore spots, just got to make sure he's your long-term project because
he's the bubble boy.
Don't let him play with George Costanza.
Are you thinking about Oscar Allen just rolling into the room with a bubble? Is that what you're thinking?
Although when I see Oscar Allen, all I see is that vision of him, the picture of him with a big jacket walking in. He's a smooth-looking operator when he gets stressed up. The bubble boy.
Why did you touch the bubble boy? Okay, now Taranto, not in the top 150 players in the competition, according to Kane Corns. I don't hate it by Kane. I don't hate a lot of things he says, to be really honest, because I know what he's doing. So
what is he doing?
Well, Hardwick called him out on it, and Kane Corns and Hardwick, of course, premiership teammates. Yeah. So it was an interesting war of words. But again, that's what Kane wants that.
But why? Why does he want? I mean, I'll put it this way. Let me put it from a journalist's point of view. If I'm listening to Will Schofield, Matthew Lloyd, Lee Spur, Glenn Jakovich, I want to hear what you think and your tactical nous, your experience and your history in the game, more so than Scully. I'm hearing Scully. Yeah, this is all he's doing here is trying to get a reaction. I don't want that.
So that's not what he's doing. So
what's he doing?
Champion Data had Taranto ranked at 120. So I mean, he's just stretched it out by 30 players, which is pretty much 2 players in every team. It's not like he's not going from 20 to 150. I think he's saying that Taranto hasn't lived up to the hype that he was traded in as, and I don't disagree with it. So all he's doing is stretching the truth a little bit to get people talking. You can't tell me there's many journalists in the land that's just straighty 180. What I say is fact. There's no mayo, no mustard, no nothing on it. There's no one. Mate, not even Mark Reddings can stand by that. You just ham things up a little bit.
But his numbers are okay. So that's
I know.
His numbers are okay.
Well, but the champion data ranking things, people use them as systems to rank players. And he was at 120 before this weekend. So Taranto comes out and has 30 and kicks 2. Best game for the club, probably, and just goes, how about them, Kane? Look, all I'm saying is his job is to get people talking. Now, I don't think many things he says is so outrageous, but he has reasons. So that's why I can respect it. Do I agree? Certainly not. But no. I don't have to agree.
No, I would say I totally get the media industry and what he does, but
he's not. All I'm saying, he's not calling out, Buddy Franklin and saying he's the worst player to ever have played. Like he's saying, Tim Taranto traded in at a high draft picks. Richmond got rid of them. Richmond are now going poorly. Taranto comes in. He's hasn't played, amazingly. He's ranked at 120 in the competition. He's basing it off that. He's seen that. He goes, all right, well,
I'll have a crack at it.
If I said, I don't have him in the 119th player, and then you look at it and he's like 120, he's like, okay. But he said, I'll just push him back to 150. I can see what he's done. That's fine. No problem with it. Anyway, Richmond win. We both pick Richmond.
We both pick Richmond, and I still don't think they're any good. Virtue of the injuries they've got, but that they are a side that, let's be honest, they are just going at the moment, and they would have ripped down Punt Road on today if they were beaten by the Eagles. And they were challenged, but the Eagles, as you said, didn't have the experience, didn't have the class, and a regulation victory. Just
like Optus Stadium would have been burnt to the ground if Hawthorn had have defeated Fremantle, which they did not. They got spanked, 69 points in the end to Fremantle. Does this mean Freo's back?
No, but sometimes in commentary when you at the game, a soft kill like that, and Hawthorn, look, they're on a trajectory which is a rebuild. We know that, and they've got some work to do. And defensively, they were just poor at times, killed on turnover. And the Dockers, it was a type of win, I think, to maybe kickstart their season. Luke Jackson plays his best game for the club. 7 tackles, 24 disposals, 2 goals. Andy Brayshaw, 34 and 2, I think it was. They're the 2 players. Brayshaw's had a bit of a knee, which he said recently the pain's gone, so he's playing well off the back of that. His numbers weren't horrendous by any means, but I thought Luke Jackson was really encouraging to see him play a bit in the ruck, play forward, play in the mid, and he had a bit of space. And the pressure valve was lifted, you felt, with Freo. Their highest score under Justin Longmuir.
Yep.
2019 was the last time they kicked a score that high. And in fact, go back to round 17 last year, they kicked 111 points against St Kilda at Marvel Stadium. They won that game comfortably. So nice to see them kick a score on a night where, of course, the Starlight Foundation, the kids were front and centre. But can you declare them back? I don't think we can give them that luxury just yet.
No, I can't. I mean, they're playing against a side in Hawthorn. It was the first time since 2008 that the Hawks played a game without a premiership player in it. I thought that was an interesting sell on Hawthorn. They're clearly in a rebuilding phase. Look, what I was impressed from Fremantle, I can't call them back after one game because I said I was off them, not picking them again until they win. So they got Sydney this week.
And then Geelong and Melbourne.
So I'm probably going to stick by to be honest, I think Sydney will beat them in Sydney next week. But what I did like is their ball movement that they tried to adjust the week before against Brisbane, that it didn't quite work in slippery conditions against Brisbane at the Gabba. It worked against Hawthorn because Hawthorn allows that type of play, the open, freewheeling play through the middle of the ground. taking it on. I thought O'Driscoll's run was back and better. There were certain players that were back. Rather than Freo being back, Brayshaw back, Jackson back, O'Driscoll I was really impressed with. He's missed a lot of time. So you forget about how much they sort of needed him last year. Peel had a good win in the waffle, but that Will Brodie was, of course, dropped, which I found
that's interesting, isn't it?
Quite strange.
But yeah, I think those players benefited from, the lack of pressure applied by Hawthorn, which they haven't really been afforded much this year. So, but sometimes, Scully, those victories, just engender a bit of confidence and belief and the vibe of the club. So, look, putting a positive spin on this, Fremantle's been declared probably the biggest underachiever this year. Well, they're playing a side who are on the same amount of points this week, 12 points, made a grand final last year, has slipped down through injuries, whatever you want to call it. They have been disappointing as well. So in that category, they're 11th, they're 12th, Sydney 11th. So, there's another club that they're facing this week that's got a few issues as well.
If we're talking about journos and people in the media, you talk about Kane Corns before and you said people want to listen, and I think the Sydney thing may be the only thing I got right this year. I did say that.
A couple of people said Sydney would slide, but you said that
great.
as well.
I was just trying to credit myself.
No, I'll give you I said Richmond would also tumble, but we're both right very rarely, but that's one. You've said Sydney or Gonski, and they are.
Very good. That is the Freo game. I think they are improving. They'll need to beat Sydney to be back. If they beat Sydney, I'm saying they're back.
If they beat Sydney and they can win one of the next two, which is Geelong or Melbourne,
who out of those two is more winnable? Who's here?
Geelong's here. They just don't beat Geelong here. They got them in Geelong last year, playing a lot better footy.
That's a tough 3 weeks.
I think Geelong here more chance than Melbourne at the MCG myself.
Yeah, Melbourne at the MCG is a tough ask. I think you're right. There we go. That's the West Australian side of things. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shelter FootyCast. Might have to whip through these.
I heard you select in the Fremantle Hawthorn game.
Here he is. Yeah, here he is. I actually picked Hawthorn as my roughie of the week.
Why did you submit that now, little spiel?
Do you want me to just clip you right now? Because the only one I got wrong was the roughie of the week. Got 8 out of 9, Skeeter.
So I got 8 out of 9.
No, you didn't. Not here, you didn't.
Well, no, this is like playing
Pooparama.
Well, it is really the tipping, because we got to tip roughies of the week.
Okay, well I would have got 9 then.
You got 9. Do you tip on Friday night? Brisbane, did you?
Yep.
Okay, we got 9 out of 9. Well done.
Yep. You got 7, mate.
I got 8.
Well done, mate. You got 8. You didn't get all right like I did. What do I get for getting them all right?
You get to sit there like a knob and just keep talking.
Brisbane defeat Carlton by Friday. Happy to do that, Skeeter. 26 points. Your clanger of the week, thanks to Thirsty Camel, is right here in this game.
Well, I'm not sure if it was during the game, after the game, when all the journos were sitting there writing their copy, but there's been a lot of things. There was an elephant at Arden Street going back in the 70s. An elephant. You must have seen the vision at Arden Street.
What, on the ground?
On the ground with someone was riding the elephant, of course. This is the day. This was in the era when elephants were welcomed at grounds at AFL. Imagine the VFL. How dangerous that was. An elephant. It was galloping. Have a look at the vision.
I've never seen it.
The galloping gasometer, who was Mick Nolan. It was an elephant. So this wasn't an elephant at Marvel Stadium, but it was. Now, I'm pretty sure I don't think it was a dingo. I'm pretty sure it was a fox.
Really?
A fox at Marvel Stadium. So I'm not sure if they're attracted by lights, by rats, by what it is, but there was a fox. You've seen the picture. You know I'm right. This is the clanger of the week from those
Who's responsible?
Animal security at Marvel.
Where's it coming? It's in the middle of the city. But Marvel Stadium's in the middle of the city. There's a fox running around the Docklands.
Are they dangerous foxes?
Oh, I can't imagine you want to meet one in the back alley somewhere.
But did you see the picture?
Yes.
So I'm correct. This is a clanger.
Thirsty Camel, clanger of the week. Don't run out of your favourites. Grab your shelters at Thirsty Camel. Who's the clanger to, though?
Well, it's the animal security, the staff at the ground.
Not stopping foxes.
Because we saw the pig at SCG. You must have seen that one.
Seen that one.
With Plugger. Yeah, so the pig, the elephant. We've seen plenty of dogs get onto the ground, but not a fox.
The lady streaker going.
Helen DeMarco, that was in the early grand final in 1980-81 when she went up to Bruce Stool and
flying doormat.
He wasn't all that impressed about having a couple of bazookas in his face. So he said, "Get away, sweetheart."
Let's get into the game. There you go. There's the clanger of the week. Brisbane defeat Carlton at home for Carlton. That is.
Yeah.
What?
No. They were Brisbane. In fact, the first half, their midfield was outstanding. I've got to say, Josh Dunkley stopping Paddy Cripps, won the footy. Tackling was outstanding. He should be getting the 3 Brownlow votes for what he did. But Brisbane are playing some good footy.
Defended well.
Yeah.
Curnow didn't kick his 9 this week.
No, never looked like it, actually.
No.
So, no, they were very complete. As you say, Josh Dunkley was terrific. And, Charlie Curnow curtailed, as you said. Harry Mackay didn't get into the game. In fact, they were very disappointing, Carlton. And the question marks keep building on them against Adelaide. They were disappointing against Brisbane. They haven't shown up. Their victories this year, you look now and you go, wow, they actually haven't done a lot against quality opposition, to be brutally honest. And if you're talking about a team that's vulnerable inside the 8, that's them.
Yeah, and they haven't made that jump like Adelaide, St Kilda, Essendon has, even though those sides have had some losses over the past few weeks. Carlton's out of that realm of teams that have, tried to jump up out of that 8, and only, traditionally 2 jump up, and Carlton's not in that mix right now.
No, well, Michael Voss watched the press conference post-match, and he was happy with the effort, but the execution, the turnovers, they just killed them, and you saw that throughout the course of the night.
Brisbane's a good side.
Brisbane is a good side, and look, I think I was clouded a bit by what they produced against the Bulldogs at Marvel earlier in the year, but they'd won 6 of their past 7 against Carlton, so their record at Marvel's pretty good. So it's the MCG they need to get on and play some good footy. But that's for late. They don't play 2 matches there this year. But no, they were good. And as you say, Dunkley, to do what he did to Paddy Cripps, he's been a really good. You talk about getting a trade-in player. He's been probably the most valuable in the competition.
He had 33 touches, 11 marks, 13 tackles, 6
and a lot of fantasy points.
6 intercept possessions. You up it with a fantasy?
No, I'm not, but I've heard there's a lot of fantasy points for him.
550 metres gained, outstanding. I think that's his best game for the club so far. Brisbane on the upward trajectory, Carlton on the downward slant. Geelong defeat Adelaide by 26 points. This game was closer than I thought down in Geelong. Adelaide are good to watch. I'll start with that. I like watching them. The way they play, they're exciting. You can, if you're an Adelaide fan, I think you probably walk away after most games going, you know what, we gave it a real crack there. Adelaide were inaccurate at stages. I thought maybe they missed some opportunities against a Geelong side down there. Playing these good sides, like a Collingwood, and we saw Sydney do this yesterday, and a Geelong, if you're going to take your chance to beat these guys, you need to make the most of your opportunities.
Absolutely. And look, they're so hard to beat there, aren't they, Geelong? Just their ability to play the ground better than their opposition.
Big story out of this is Paddy Dangerfield being subbed
injured
off with a hamstring. I really like the access he gave after the game, though. He spoke with Cam Mooney, clearly ex-teammates. I think Moons would have played with Dangerfield. Maybe not. Clearly the same club, given they're both Geelong boys. Basically said he'd done a hamstring. And I think we could probably look at doing that more across the AFL. How good is it to have a bit of clarity? Right? Dangerfield's done his hammy, so we know that's happening right now.
Which is, again, we're diverting here, but it was a victory that you expected Geelong to have. But you're right about the injuries. And the NFL, we're talking about, we use so much out of the American sporting system. We need to get a bit more transparency, I think, with, just to clear your hand. Hamstring, done.
Correct.
Move on, 2 or 3 weeks. So, Danger. Now, is it the worst thing? He was going to be managed. You don't want to get an injury. But, is it a case where Chris Scott this year, looking longer term than this, they're back in business? They're officially back. I think you'll agree now.
Yeah, finally I'll jump on. Yeah,
they're back, which is great because you've tipped them to go back for the flag, which is
it is about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's 5-4 after 9 rounds last year, won I think every game after that. So they're not that far behind that point. Are they in a position, do you think, with the luxury of being able to, forget the injury to Dangerfield, to manage guys like him with the older list to get through
Well, they are, but doing a hammy is never a good thing.
No.
Yeah, and so, what goes about with a hamstring injury, you got to go, back to the drawing board basically from a strength point of view to your legs. So I've done a few hammies. It's probably 2 weeks of building up back to running, but the really hard stuff comes in the weights room. You really go pretty hard on the eccentric, concentric loading, Skeeter.
Oh, hello. Where's Travis?
I know. Go on. Hit me.
Know your role and shut your mouth.
I know
what is it
about
called?
this,
What is it?
Eccentric, concentric loading. So you load it up with weight pushing down on it. You load it up with pulling weight. So push and pull weights to get your hamstrings stronger and build that back up.
Righto.
I hope you're taking notes, Skeeter.
It's eccentric concept. Just fucking get out there, brother.
So it's not fun. You don't just get a rest. Is what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a good thing. Cameron kicks just the 3, bit of a quiet day for him. His tally goes to 33 on the season. Tom Stewart, he's a star. He had 24 touches and 9 intercept possessions. He's top 3 defenders in the league, and he's probably in the discussion for top 10, 20 players in the league. He's an absolute gun.
Yeah, and look, I think Adelaide, they to me have been the most improved side this season. They get beaten by Collingwood in a breath.
Yes.
And that performance in Geelong, I think Matty Nicks won't be overly distressed by that. You get within 5 goals of the Cats. That's a tick in my mind, without sounding too defeatist.
Yep, I agree. And I said they were pretty inaccurate at times. They kicked 11 goals, 6. So thank you very much, Scully. Geelong kicked 14-14, had 28 shots to 17 from Adelaide, and looks like they were absolutely dead-eyed dick in front of goals. So don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. Melbourne defeat Gold Coast by 5. Close one. Nail-biter.
Absolutely. And McPherson had the chance to tie things up.
So it was in the final minute, down by 6.
Yeah, watching this at Optus Stadium. Was kickable, about 40 out, directly in front. And the only thing I would say, what time would it have been? About 7 o'clock at night on the Gold Coast. Ball a bit slippery, but a dewy condition. So they weren't handling the ball comfortably. But, look, put it this way. You give it to, say, Jack Lukosius or Noah Anderson, who had a really big day or night up there.
37 touches.
Probably, that's a great return. Is it probably his best game for the club.
Same with Matty Rowell.
Yeah.
Now,
so therefore, kickable goal. Didn't get across the line. There is an issue in this game that I would like to address once you go through some of the individuals.
I don't have too many more individuals to go through. I mean, Rosa's kicked 4. That's his best he's ever done. Maybe you're going to address the same issue as mine. Is yours humorous or not?
No, mine is. Okay, mine is. You want to go?
I'll go humour first.
Okay.
Matty Rowell, and we'll speak more about this on BackChat.
Shorts?
With some, his shorts are questionable, and some other things he does is questionable. He seems like a bit of an odd cat, Rowley. Not that I know him, just seen a fair bit going on. That just few question marks. Well, no longer question marks. He's lost the plot, Rowley. Completely lost the plot.
How so?
Vision has come out after the game. I was watching this on After the Bounce. He, some players, I've seen Josh Kennedy goes out on the ground barefooted, makes himself at one with the ground and he's lying around in there. So Rowley's doing that. He's bending down. He's rubbing his hands on the grass. That's all fine.
Jai Bolton, actually, in the waffle, by the way, for Claremont, goes out. I've seen it. He goes out and meditates.
Well, that's fine as well. That's not even Rowley. He's not even close to Rowley. He's on his hands. He's pulling the grass, throwing it up. Matty Lloyd style. That's fine. Bit of grass, rubs it on the face. I think that's starting to get a little bit weird. He then gets a fucking tuft of grass and puts it in his mouth and chews it up and eats it.
Really? You saw that?
Mate, it's fucking vision of this bloke eating grass out in the middle of wherever they play, the Gold Coast.
Heritage Bank Stadium.
That is outrageous.
This is pre-game. Was he around anyone who could see him?
He was in his kit, mate, in the middle of the ground.
But was he, with the teammate, anyone say, mate, what are you doing?
Mate, he's shaking his head. It was like a rabid dog. I don't know what was going on. He's lost it, Rowley. Anyway, there you go. Okay. Matty Rowell lost the plot.
Matty Rowell, the headline on the grass.
What do you got for us?
Well, I just want to say, I think Melbourne need to and will challenge the 2-match suspension handed out to Jacob Van Rooyen. I've looked at this vision time and time again. Charlie Ballard, I know he went off the ground. He was, I think, stretchered off from.
It looked like a neck injury because the way he held his back of his head, the contact was made to the front of it. So I reckon it was a nervy neck. And so all the best to him.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
So we don't want any injury, but I just cannot. And I think if they're going to use a reference point in some degree, it has to be the Tom Lynch case at the MCG against Alex Keith, I think it was. This to me was a pure football accident. That's my view. I think Melbourne should and will succeed on that basis.
So, I feel like there's a lot of cases being suspended this year more than others. I'd love to see some stats on us. But what it feels like is happening is they just see the incident and they've got the checkmark box that they use in terms of grading it, low, medium, high impact, intentional, careless conduct, severe, and then where it is on the body, whether it be low in the body or in the head. And they just go tick, 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 and there's your 2 weeks. I'll be devil's advocate because shouldn't that be the way we're doing it? Like, isn't
the result of the action?
Yes. Well, so there's nothing on the board when you're grading these actions to do with the injury or any of that. It's the severity of impact that they grade it on. It's where they hit it and it's their intention. That's all they think about. So the fact that he's been given 2 weeks is on the base of those 3 things. And then, as they should, they will challenge this and he should get off completely. Isn't that the system working? Could I argue that?
Yeah, possibly. Look, and I think you mentioned intent. And the intent
difficult to grade, unless you're person to person, you ask him what were you thinking.
Exactly. Right? But to me, the intent there was not to do any damage.
I agree.
So we'll wait and see.
I hope he
Hopefully.
doesn't get weak. So it'll be a shame.
Absolutely agree. We both tipped Melbourne.
Well, everyone who won, you don't need to ask who I tipped. Everyone who won, that's who I tipped, the winner.
Let's
'cause I
keep
got
going.
9.
Let's keep going.
Western Bulldogs defeat GWS by 15.
The Bont.
The Bont is the best player in the game.
I think so. I brought that up on radio yesterday. No, I think he's the most valuable player.
Yeah, is he going?
He's the best captain in terms of what he's producing, and he's the quintessential modern day midfielder. I don't know how tall he is, but he's got every element going his way. Contested footy, kicking goals. When Treloar goes off with that hamstring, I was at the other game with you, so only watched dispatches of this. Of course, no Toby Green pre-game, which is a big blow. Probably the 15-point margin is what Toby Green brings to the table. So they've been brave, the Giants. They were gone at three-quarter time. Could have been a blowout, but they kicked, I think, the first 3 or 4 goals of the last quarter. So I thought they showed a lot of ticker, but the Bulldogs found a way to get across the line, and the Bont will pick up the 3 Brownlow votes for me.
Yeah, he had 25 contested possessions,
Massive.
14 clearances, 10 of those by half-time. Tom Green for the GWS had 38 touches and 3 goals. That's a game. Adam Treloar out with a hamstring. I think they'll miss him. He's important to their structure. The Bulldogs had 9 goal kickers on the night, so they're spreading the love a little bit. I think they'd be happy with that. That seems to suit the way they play. Look, Bontempelli is a gun. Always has been. It's not like he's just sprung up, right? We know he's a good player.
Yep.
What has changed is they trade Josh Dunkley at the end of last year, and they trade Lockie Hunter as well. There's 2 players out of their midfield gone. It means Bontempelli isn't playing half forward or on a wing or rotating through. He's the guy.
He's the man.
Right, Josh Dunkley at times, for a lot of it, was the guy at Bulldogs, and Bontempelli is now the guy. He's an inside bull. He's bigger. He's stronger. He's quicker. He has all those on every other midfielder, and what he does with the footy is that much better than most midfielders, the way he kicks it. You think about the gun midfielders in the competition, Clayton Oliver, I think he's right up there.
But his kicking efficiency, nowhere near it.
He's not an amazing kick. If you line Bontempelli up next to Oliver, you take Bontempelli 10 out of 10 times. Even...
You mentioned Danger. I mean...
Dangerfield, Tim Kelly's having a terrific season, but
again,
those guys don't kick it like Bontempelli.
No.
He can kick a 60-metre worm burner and break lines from a stoppage after he's broken away from 4 tackles.
He just looks so graceful when he does it. He's just a beautiful footballer.
He'd be very close, if not guaranteed, to be leading the Brownlow right now because of how he plays. You think about umpires giving votes. You come in. I've been having to give votes at the end of Aquinas games, coaching down there.
Yep.
The backs, Skeeter, going very well, 2-0.
Oh, yeah?
Only 1 goal let through against Guildford on the weekend.
Catholics up and about.
Okay, there you go.
Did you know that it's a Catholic school?
Well, not particularly.
You better start learning the rules, brother. Our Father who art in heaven, trust me.
Nash is down at the beautiful Catholic primary school down the road. Of
course he is.
Well, he is. Alex, my beautiful wife's also a Catholic. And maybe
Well, you're just an atheist just wandering
I'm
through
not an
life.
atheist. I'm just a person. That's all.
You identifying as a he or she?
God,
What are you doing?
I don't know, mate. But what was I saying, you dickhead? I was making a point about something. Right, coaching and giving votes.
Yes.
It's bloody difficult after a game, like umpires have to do, to give votes. Like I've given the votes in the best on ground in the Derby, the Waffle Grand Final. I find it bloody hard, and I've been doing it at Aquinas as well. It's bloody hard. So umpires do that every week. But what you go to is, like, who had the biggest impact on the game? You just have to think about what Bontempelli does. He might have 19 touches, but he's right there in front of you and what he does. Right?
And look, I'm always interested in the coaches' votes after each round because that gives you another perspective. And if you take them as a guide, I think they're a pretty good guide as to how they think.
Is he leading?
Don't know. No idea. But I'm just saying he would be prominent. I'm just throwing up the coaches' votes of one that I think, again, they've been concentrating so much of their own team through the match, but they're also obviously trying to work out ways to counter the likes of Bontempelli. So, yes, Yep's got a text through. He's dominating. He's very close to the top of the table. And
can you hit the button, please?
Know your role and shut your mouth.
So, let's move on.
Yeah.
Who'd you pick?
I tipped the Bulldogs.
Don't have to ask me. Now, Port Adelaide defeat Essendon by 5.
Yeah.
This one was, we were watching this as we were calling the Collingwood-Sydney game together. Essendon were in front a lot of this game, but they kicked straight. 13-9 they end up with Port Adelaide kicked 12 goals, 20. So they almost kicked themselves out of this one. The big ruckman in Phillips has a chance to put him in front.
Bit like McPherson.
Yeah, it was a beautiful kick actually, but he landed a bit short, metre out with about 30 seconds to go to sort of put him in front, and Port Adelaide ended up chipping it around to win this game.
Yeah, they've won 4 matches by 14 points or less.
Really? Whereas last year they were doing the opposite.
Exactly, and that's a very good point. On Sunday in the first quarter, they were belted in clearance 8-1. Second quarter, they got that back on their terms a little bit, and they kicked 2-7. I mean, to 3 goals. So their accuracy early was poor. They always looked like they were going to win the game, given their dominance, but unable to finish. They do get the result. Essendon, to me, lose no friends with the way they went about it. They were efficient early. I think they kicked 6-1 in the opening quarter. But the concern for Port moving forward, apart from the fact that they've won the game, another tight one, the kicking for goal has to improve. And Junior Rioli,
he's in trouble.
He's in trouble with the match review officer. Ridley went off. Now,
not a broken jaw.
Not a broken, but concussion, yeah. Yep. So not the double whammy.
It was a weird one if you haven't seen it.
But a couple of weeks, do you think?
Yeah, Rioli sort of went to block him off the ball working with Finlayson as a forward, and kind of playing with Junior. He's a gun at it. He makes it look like he's watching the ball, but he's blocking someone's opponent, and it happens 100 times a day in a game. So it was a bit of an unlucky one. He ran past and his back arm actually flung around and smacked Ridley in the head. So I don't think he'll be graded with intentional. Definitely, well, it may not even be careless. What's below careless? I think there's like a grading below.
Negligent? No?
Yeah, negligent sort of thing. So he may not get 3 weeks. I sort of thought it might have been heading that way, but having seen the incident, I think they'll grade that pretty happily. Burn-Jones is a really interesting one.
Gone forward.
Won a best and fairest All-Australian about 2-3 years ago for Port Adelaide as a half-back. I asked the question on Twitter a few weeks ago, and I had some Port Adelaide fans inform that he's just basically hasn't been consistent. He hasn't been playing well. He's been in and out of the team, which I still find weird to have a best and fairest winner that you have in and out of the team. Like, usually blokes that do that is just, set and forget for the rest of their careers. So they've put him forward. He kicks 2 goals. Looks like he's adding something different to him, and it's good to watch. We're going to whip through these ones, Skeeter. Collingwood defeat Sydney by 29 points. We're at this game, probably close to the game of the weekend. Someone finally tagged Nick Dacos, and it worked. I've seen coverage of this game across Twitter, and people saying Sydney shouldn't have done what they were doing, and they were going too physical at him, and we don't want our kids watching that sort of behaviour.
I have no issue with it.
Nick Dacos had 16 touches till 3/4 time. This bloke's been having 45 touches and kicking 2 goals. Sydney were a goal in it at 3/4 time. The only reason they weren't in front was because they couldn't kick straight in front of goal. It bloody worked. Like, the way that Sydney played against Collingwood worked. And so I haven't seen any positive stuff about it. Why? They tagged the shit out of him. They were physical. They harassed him. It looked like he,
it wasn't rattled by it, but it affected. Put it this way: Sydney put time into it, and you've been calling it.
Collingwood's best player, they stopped. So I was shocked they were actually in the game because of it.
The concern is, though, that they still won pretty comfortably in the last quarter.
They dropped the tag in the last quarter. You could see they clearly did it because they had to win. Collingwood comes out and kicks the first 2 goals of the last quarter, down by 3 goals. You can't have a bloke following Dacos around, so they drop it. He has 10 in the last and finishes with 25 touches.
And again, Sydney had their chances. Speaking about, we bring up all these stats, but if they kick straight in the first half, they're probably 4 or 5 goals up. Mind you, they probably need to be 4 or 5 goals up with the last quarters of Collingwood. You went and rolled out a stat yesterday on radio, and it's just...
They've won. So this isn't one of them because they win by 29. But they've won. They've played in games decided by 15 points 16 times in the last 18 months. So this year and last year, they've won 14 of them.
Extraordinary.
Which is outrageous. And one of those was the prelim final against Sydney.
They fell 2 points short.
Correct.
And it was a ripper. My check 5 goals, including not the goal of the year, but certainly a podium finish at this point.
That was outrageous.
It was terrific. And yeah, they're just they're a sexy team to watch. I know you're talking about don't jump on the bandwagon with Collingwood, but they're a good team to watch.
Sexy.
They're sexy. They're the best eye candy in the AFL. Well, they do. They play attacking brand. Yesterday was a bit more of a grind against Sydney, but no, I'm not a Collingwood supporter, but if you go to the footy in Melbourne against Collingwood versus a big name Melbourne club, that's exciting because the noise, 71,000 there yesterday.
That's a big crowd.
That's big. I mean, the day before Richmond, who were on struggle street, had 28 against the Eagles. So 2 interstate sides. Sydney's not going that well, but Collingwood supporters, the competition is healthy when Collingwood is up and about. So kudos to them. I will ask you who you tipped because you went strongly yesterday saying you're on Sydney. You tipped Sydney on radio.
Well, I just did that to piss you off because I was.
Hang on. So which version? So you tipped Collingwood?
When I put my tips in here on this show and officially as well, I picked Collingwood.
Okay.
Right?
Just trying to work out where.
If you'd like me to be a yes man and walk on my head and tick some boxes.
How many different competitions are you in where you're just tipping?
Quite a few, Stan. Can I remember who I tipped? I have to come in here and ask who I tipped. I have no idea what I've done and what I've spoken about.
Likewise.
Yes, correct. I was going to say, I reckon you're in the same boat, buddy. St Kilda defeat North Melbourne. Last game of the week.
Not going there. 12 goals between them. It was shite. 0-7 they kicked in the first half, North Melbourne. Don't want to know about it.
Mate, that is one of the most putrid scorelines you've ever seen. Under the roof with Foxes, with or without Foxes running around. 4 goals, 10. They didn't kick a goal till after half time, North Melbourne. And St Kilda, on the other hand, it's not like they kicked 1,000 points. 8 goals, 16.
Revolting. There's talk that it's as bad as go back to 2002. No. 2002, St Kilda versus Sydney. Apparently it was like 4 goals apiece or something putrid.
North Melbourne goalless in the first half. First time North Melbourne have been goalless in the first half since.
Give me the answer. I don't know.
Guess.
A year. 1897. I don't know.
No. Goalless in the first half. 1897. Yeah. When was the last time they were goalless in the first half? 1897.
Okay. So are we talking the last 30 years?
120 years ago.
I don't know. When's the last time they kicked a goal in the first half?
I'm asking you. Have a guess. A proper guess.
Is it easy or hard? Because I got no freaking idea. Let me think. They've been shite for a fair while. So I'm going to say 3 years ago.
1979.
There you go. I knew it was a long time ago. 1979.
1897. You were alive then.
Ross Lyons should be banned from coaching if that's the sort of crap we've got to watch, though.
But have you heard Deflategate? St Kilda players said that the balls were flat.
Oh,
have you seen
really?
this? Yeah. Wilkie came out after the game and said the balls were flat. They didn't pump the balls up.
That's why they don't think they could kick them properly.
Well, neither team could. Yeah, no, genuinely saying the balls were flat. That'd be interesting if someone forgot to pump them up.
That's extraordinary. Anyway, I reckon we spent 3 minutes longer than we should have on a game that will go down as the worst so far this year. Could be the worst of the decade. And you know what? I can say this even though I didn't see the game. I didn't see the game.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Shelter FootyCast, Mark Reddings, Will Schofield. I want to say to Matty R, I've read your email. It's do as I say, not as I boo. Very good heading.
That, yeah.
It's quite lengthy. He speaks about the booing of players, doesn't like it, especially around Jason Horne-Francis. It feels like a bit of a hazing The Apprentice or any other workplace bullshit going on. Australia have got a real tall poppy syndrome thing.
Oh, I'm not sure that's right. I mean, sorry, EPL players, I reckon they cop grief. I mean, I don't know. It's not right.
Booing this kid and many others in the past feels like a real drink a cup of concrete mentality born in part from jealousy or envy. No one is meant to like work, and people seem real annoyed that a 19-year-old kid got to leave a workplace they didn't enjoy for a different one. Even if we win the spoon, I guess the Eagles have that over North Melbourne. That's a little clip on the way out from Matty.
Yeah, I mean, look.
The whole booing thing, I mean, we've covered it.
We've covered it, but put it this way. I got no real issue. I sometimes come home from work and people, I get booed almost daily by my family,
booed.
just by my daughters. Yeah, just like, hi girls, boo. I get jeered, I get abused. So no, there's no love at times in my house. I'm used to it. You know what? Put on your big boy shorts and get going. Just roll through it, Skull. You'll get there one day, trust me.
Oh my God, just imagine Skeeter coming in thinking he's going to get cheered.
Oh, welcome. Hi Dad, how's your day? Ooh, yeah, someone.
Shelter XBA X Factor. We'll give this one away every week, Skeeter. Yeah. Oscar Allen's getting this one.
Is
4
he?
goals. Well, give me who else did you get it? Andy Brayshaw.
Well, Brayshaw or Jackson, but mate, I'm happy to go down because given
Oscar Allen 4 goals,
given the Eagles'
shite team,
trials and tribulations,
shite team.
Oscar, would he drink them with fervour at the end of the season?
I think so. Yes,
it looks like those. A bit of a sort of a wine man to me, just at first glance.
All right, I'm going to send that and clip that to ask Oscar. No, I think
that's a compliment, by the way.
Yeah, I think you're a wine man. No.
Oh, well, I'm not drinking anything at the moment, but I'm getting real
How many days left?
I've done 40. This is 44, 45.
Is there a chance you could continue it on?
I'm actually considering going through one more weekend, which would take it into the 50s.
So you're not considering just stopping drinking?
No. Well, I just think, as my wife says, I'm bloody boring when I'm off it. And And so are all of us, including you. And,
correct.
and I don't get to drink this, the Shelter,
Correct.
which I've got to get back on it soon.
Shelter FootyCast, you've been with us. It's been great. Email us, footycast@shelterbrewing.com.au. You can follow us on Instagram. Watch us on YouTube. Listen to us as a podcast. You're doing both of those. Tell your friends about it. It'd be great to get some reviews as well. If you want to give us a 5-star review, Skeeter.
Like an Uber.
Yeah, correct. But you wouldn't know how to do either. So there you go. Mark Reddy's Will Schofield, done and dusted.